Good evening, beautiful souls on this winter solstice of 2017. How many of you realize that vulnerability can make you feel really fearful? How many of you realize that vulnerability can make you feel completely free and empowered? Vulnerability is something that has to be practiced, because when we step into that open space, we realize and recognize and become more aware of parts of us that we didn't even know existed. I was doing some reading this morning and my mind was totally blown because it put me back into a moment when I was just a kid. I've been reading The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz, and it's beautifully written and it's speaking to me. I want to read a passage to you about our domestication and how when we are brought up, certain experiences trigger things for us, and we've created emotional wounds. And this one hit the nail on the head for me because I was always, and still kind of am, I have a tendency anyways to be shy and to be reserved and to be observant and very reflective and just aware of my surroundings and taking it all in. And I'm very careful and strategic about where I step foot and how I present myself, because I think I've developed a fear of being seen for who I truly am. And I recognized that a few months ago. That's one of my biggest limiting beliefs, is that I'm never going to be seen or loved or valued or respected or appreciated for exactly who I am. But that's only deeply rooted in the fact that I've been so freaking afraid to show up as who I truly am that no one even had the opportunity to see that. And this is a lesson that is not new to me. I've been learning this for a while now, and it hit me again today because of this passage. So listen to this. I invite you to listen to it anyways. Little by little, we lose our innocence. We start to feel resentment, and then we no longer forgive. Over time, these incidents and interactions let us know it's not safe to be who we really are. Of course, this will vary in intensity with each human according to his intelligence and his education. It will depend on many things. If you're lucky, the domestication is not that strong. But if you're not so lucky, the domestication can be so strong and the wounds so deep that you can even be afraid to speak. The result is, oh, I am shy. Shyness is the fear of expressing yourself. You may believe you don't know how to dance or how to sing, but this is just repression of the normal human instinct to express love. Humans use fear to domesticate humans, and our fear increases with each experience of injustice. And that sense of injustice is the knife that opens a wound in our emotional body. And so I think I should give you a little context behind that, but basically all of our experiences that we've had, when we were little, we were in a pure state of joy and bliss and everything was awesome. And imagine you were playing in a playground and you're having the time of your life, and you see your mom over there, and your mom sees a car, and she gets a little worried, and so she starts chasing after you because she's fearful that you might get hit by a car, but you have no awareness of this, and you see your mom running, and you think, oh man, mom wants to play with me, this is great, and then she swats you on the butt or tells you no, or that you're bad, or whatever happens, and you all of a sudden are triggered, and you think, oh my gosh, I was experiencing something beautiful and I did something wrong. And in that moment, you've defined something or labeled yourself or judged yourself, and that's how we're domesticated, so now we're not going to run the street. But emotionally, there is a whole lot of stuff going on in there. And so over time, when I would get redirected or have some kind of feedback from my environment or the people in my life and my upbringing, I have internalized those things to just kind of be more reserved, because it was easier and still is easier to sit back and not step foot, to not have the potential to be judged, to not be vulnerable, to not face your fears and to not show up as yourself. Because when you show up as yourself, people have the opportunity to critique you, and that can be scary. But the experiences that I've had today just go to show like how far I've come on my journey of overcoming this shyness. Like at this point in time, like I'm not fearful of stepping foot into new territory and introducing myself to people and making new friends wherever I go. And just, I do that by being more vulnerable and by showing up as myself. And today I had so many opportunities to meet with different friends and different spheres of influence that I normally don't interact with. And that in and of itself is such a beautiful thing. Being able to step foot into new territory, literally like a new location, and surround yourself with different human beings especially that like have something, okay, every human being has amazing things that you can learn from them. But when you intentionally build relationships with people who are like doing things that you admire in life, like if you get with them more, it's just the law of association. You are going to accumulate some of their energy, or like there's an exchange of some kind metaphysically, but also just in your interactions. And I'm so grateful for all of the opportunities I had to meet with friends today. And every single person brought something new to my life, and I'm soaking it all in right now. But one of the biggest things I was thinking about was that vulnerability, because how did I get from being that shy little girl to stepping foot into my womanhood and not being afraid to show up as myself? So I have a couple of thoughts, and this was actually a journal entry that I wrote a couple months ago. And as I was writing in my journal tonight, as soon as I got home, I happened to flip to this page and it was spot on. So everything for reasons, but here it is. With vulnerability, our walls have to come down. People say and do a wide variety of things when they see others exposing their truths. Some people see your willingness to be open and strong as something that they'll never get to be or have. And so their initial subconscious ideas lead them to sabotaging your authenticity. And that, my friends, is exactly the point at which it's incredibly easy to just shrink back into your armor. Physically, it feels like a steel suit when you're like, oh, okay. I at least felt like almost paralyzed, just like locked up. Like even if somebody was physically in my presence, like I couldn't allow their energy to enter my energy because I was so stuck. And so emotionally, it feels like small talk and white lies and an avoidance of our pain. Leaping back into this safety when we decide that vulnerability might hurt us gives us the facade that we've escaped somehow. And to stay in that state is to stagnate. To neglect telling your story and giving the world your entire spectrum of human thoughts and your entire spectrum of human emotions is to cage your soul. When we come to the awareness that wholehearted, mentally encompassing, full expression is exactly what frees us, it becomes apparent that vulnerability and authentically being from an inward manifestation in the outer world is the disintegrator of that soul armor. You guys, only when we bear what exists in our hearts, in our minds, and in our souls in that full spectrum, as opposed to just fear in our exposition, do we end up receiving that universal energy in full spectrum. Humans are no strangers to discomfort and unease. But when we step beyond the walls of what we have always done and how we all have always felt and how we've always thought, we grow and our environments grow. And if we're not growing, we're dying. You guys, every time you step out into new territory, you can see this whole new sphere of awareness. And from that sphere, you can walk to the edge of that one and create a whole nother circle. It's like the flower of life. It's beautiful. And when you continuously expand and you see yourself for what you are and you choose to show up as that, other people have the opportunity to love you just like you decided to love yourself in that moment. There's a second thing, there's like the whole other second layer to this that some of my incredible friends helped me to see tonight. And it was that when we start to go down this trail of thought that we don't want to be in, or we start to step into our fear or shrink back into our fear anyways, or however you want to think about it, then we sometimes attach judgments to those fears. Like we label ourselves of like, oh crap, shouldn't be doing that. And we put a judgment on ourselves and we think, oh man, I'm not good or something, whatever, you know? And so when you do that, you're just like domesticating yourself again, like over and over and over. You're defining what's okay and what's not okay, and you're putting yourself down. So instead of doing that, just recognize what's happening, be aware, and like almost like step out of body and see yourself for like, oh, that's interesting. Like there's emotions coming through you. Like that's interesting. Like what a strange thought. Like that's silly, but like you don't have to be the one that's judging it anymore. Like you can see yourself judging yourself, and then you're like, what are you doing that for? Like that's strange. Okay, well, let's choose something different. All right, back at it. And so it's just becoming more aware of those surroundings, and the fact that we create our own reality in every moment is truly a beautiful thing to come to be aware of. I don't know. I'm kind of trailing now, but I hope this was helpful. I felt enlightened and really excited about the energy that was exchanged today and a little bit of what I was learning on my journey. And I wanted to be able to share that with you. My hope is that it inspired you to kind of think about your vulnerabilities and what are you afraid of, and are you afraid of being seen like I am? And if so, like, do you want to step out of that? Do you want to, like, what comfort are you finding? I don't know. I would love to hear your thoughts, whether you want to post them down below on the video or you want to get a hold of me. I would absolutely love it. I'm on winter break, and building relationships and mingling with new friends and feeling their energies is beautiful, and so I'm all about it. But I hope that you guys have a lovely winter break. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, whatever you celebrate or don't celebrate. I respect you. Let's breathe together. So much love and kindness and gratitude. Bye, guys.